call this meeting to order. Do we need to accept the agenda, I assume? Is there a motion to accept?
Second, I move to accept the agenda.
All right, motion Mr. Cox, second Mr. Hoffman, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, we're here today for the public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 proposed budget. And Patty, the show is all yours.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Aldermen and taxpayers. I'm pretty pleased with the way the budget's come out this year. We don't have any tax increases. The city's mills was $21.05 last year for operating. They will remain at $21.05 this year for operating. They're 4.77 for debt, and the library's at 1.10. The schools will also be passed tonight. I think it's 67.15, and that consists of their loans and their operating, but their operating also stayed at the 55 mills that it's been at for years. The general fund income this year is at 14 million. Now, me and numbers, so y'all just bear with me. I'm just going to say it's a little over 14 million. I'm not going to try to call them out exactly. The changes that we're going to see in this budget this year, our new accounting package has allowed us to get way more in detail for the public and for ourselves. And so we were able to break out the franchises instead of it being one line item. From now on, you'll be able to see what they all pay. Our property taxes, we did not raise them, but they will bring in about $74,000 more this year, just in the value. The county did not do the assessment last year because of COVID, and so I think the intention is to do the assessment this year. And I haven't been the clerk long, but I've been told that doesn't really change a lot when that happens. But it did not happen last year when it normally would have. Another thing that's in this budget, since we don't know, we haven't really had a whole lot of issues in Ocean Springs from the sales tax and all, because we had some pretty high months before it hit. So even the couple of low months, we're still going to make our projected $5,280,000. I did drop it this year. That was, we had put in for $450,000 a month. We dropped it to $440,000 just to be cautious in case we have some more down months. And so that was $120,000 we pulled down in this budget. The lease payments are going to be broke out to where we can keep a good receivable on those. In general, the budget, if you compare it to last year with the new accounting, it would just look different. But if anybody would like to visit, any of the taxpayers, I should be happy to go over it with them. We no longer will be doing a water transfer. In a city, you have general fund and you have the enterprise fund. The enterprise fund pays direct water, sewer, and garbage employees, but then other employees that work also in it, from the mayor and the board to the finance team. There's several departments that work in it, and so this year we're going to be able to actually charge a percentage of their salaries and their benefits direct, so there will no longer be a water transfer. It'll be way cleaner. It's just a better way of keeping it. The city has a little bit over $1 million in the municipal in the reserve fund. In this budget, we're going to add another $100,000 this year. So last year we added $100,000. So I feel like we're getting that back up.
I'm sorry, did I kill you?
Yeah. And I talk pretty loud, but you never know if I'll need that mic. So let me see. I don't know if anybody's following. If anybody has any questions, just stop me. So, you know what? Mine's not in the right order. Give me a second. I guess it fell in the car or something. The first budget that we'll go over real quickly will be the mayor and the board of aldermen, if I can find it. Okay. The board of aldermen's budget looks like it has a decrease. It's really basically the same budget as last year. There's $5,500 for the ward money for each ward for the things that you need in your ward that the city, as long as it's on city property, the flowers, whatever you guys' needs are. We have the normal miscellaneous promotions as last year. These budgets are basically the same. It looks smaller in the salaries, but that's just because some of it got moved to the enterprise fund. 33% of it got moved down. The mayor's budget, same thing. It's basically the same as last year. I'm just glancing through here. That seemed to be pretty successful. We do try to budget enough for engineering. We've tried to make sure we're covering the grants. I think that's been successful. We don't have as many surprises. His budget also looks like it's lower, and it's because 33% of his staff also went down to the enterprise fund. Let me find. My staff is the supervision and finance, the finance team. The #1 staff of the city. No, just teasing everybody. In my budget this year, there is $30,000 because we will probably have 3 elections. Next year, I'm sure we'll have the primary, and we'll probably have a runoff, and then we'll have the final election. I'm hopeful that's enough. It might not be if COVID stays, because we're having to pay the poll workers more and all, so that might end up needing some more money. 33% of my staff also went down to the enterprise fund. And then some of the other things that was in my budget, water and sewer now will be, everything was being paid that affected them, from our IT services to our computer stuff. Everything was up in general fund to validate the transfer. This year, because it's moving down, it's literally changing the way our numbers are. The next budget would be HR and the risk department, and that's where a lot of the insurance is set. And this year, we have pulled out the buildings for the Civic Center and all of those buildings. It's going to reflect a way more accurate cost of what we're putting into our rentals. Her building insurance dropped $93,000, and that was because of all the buildings and stuff. It's pretty shocking, but I'm just so pleased that this accounting package will allow us to get to this accuracy. Let me see. Her budget decreased by $174,000, but that's just because we moved several things out of it. Civil service, nothing really changed there. The planning department, his is basically the same. I mean, Carolyn's is basically the same. She does have 2 matches for grants this year. Last year, the matches were $126,000 because she had East Beach and the wayfinding. So this year, she only needed $22,000, so that was a big help. Of course, she may need more as she gets awarded grants. But the 2 projects that are in for this year are the downtown parking study and the Ocean Springs and Stillman Road study. Beyond that, her budget, a little bit of Carolyn got moved down. There's really nothing beyond that. These are basically operating budgets, no frills to them, just day-to-day business. The building department, his budget, the only kind of big change he had was we took the person that was the code enforcement, and they were a 2-day-a-week person, and that is now a full-time position. And so that's the increase that would happen there. And then there was a little bit, something has to happen to the stormwater. There's some special report this year that's $4,000. So that's in this budget. The court department, it actually had decreased some. It really has nothing in it that's different. Bear with me because these aren't together, so give me a second. The police department. The police department does have in here the first year on the Motorola radios, and we did have a vehicle in here But I removed it. We're going to have one more budget amendment, and I'm going to move the vehicle to the 15th because it's turned out they had a vehicle and we thought we could wait. But with the situation in Louisiana, they think that all those vehicles are going to get shipped out. And so we don't want to lose it because we were just waiting for the new budget. But I've removed it from here. That vehicle will be reimbursed from the federal government for what the use is. So we will pay for it up front. I think it's going to be about $34,000, and then we'll get $8,400 a year back. Beyond that, everything in here is his normal day-to-day. There's nothing, that's the only thing in there that's pretty exciting. The fire department, his budget's just day-to-day. I don't see anything in here that's not just his normal doing business. Emergency management, sometimes we don't even use that. We hope we never have to. We have a couple of $1,000s in there in case a hurricane comes, in case we have any needs in the EOC. The Senior Citizen Center, their budget went up some, but it was by the building insurance. The building insurance for the Senior Citizen Center is almost $3,500. The community center, same thing. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, the community center has that and the mural insurance. And so it went up a little bit, but these are just move-arounds, really. Civic Center, basically the same budget. The Mary C., I do have the money in here for the new coordinator, which was offset by the money that was given to the Friends for the management cost. I also have $35,000 in here for whether or not we need to buy some supplies, or that just gets us started with the programs. I did budget $20,000 in as income. There will be a lot more programs than that. We don't really budget for in and out, and that's what will happen with those programs is they'll come in, the city will get a small portion, and then all the contractors will be paid out. And so the $20,000 is just to stand for the 20% that the city would, and it's just really a break even.
So are we renting the theater? I'm unclear as to how all this is going to work with the Mary C.
Yeah. I've not really been involved in that part real well. The mayor would have to be the one to kind of speak on
that's
that.
part of what we've been negotiating with, and we don't have those contracts out. So we may have to do a budget addendum or amendment at some point, but we're still ironing that out with the theater. But yes, it will be available for rent. We're discussing, that's part of our contract negotiation as far as the price point, but it will be available for rent.
And all the art rooms and stuff, that's going to be all rental income for artists that are using those rooms, and we're paying us rent for those?
In some sort of fashion, that's something we're negotiating right now.
Yeah, it's my understanding that basically the rooms will be available for the same services they were before.
Oh, even more.
Right, but what's the rental income on those? I mean, I'm just trying
We're
to figure
still
out.
ironing it out. It's not ready for this budget, so we're going to have to do a budget.
Yeah. Well, we weren't getting any rental before, and so and that's one reason I haven't really put it in until we get going. And really, it's just going to be money in and out. I mean, the city doesn't, whether it's Highway 57, whether it's the tennis courts, we don't really make money on any of our stuff like that.
Right, if we
We're just a
receive
service.
any- If we receive any, it will be more than we received in days and years.
Well, yeah, and I don't ever look at it that we're trying to make money.
We're spending more on the front end too, though.
We're also,
Well,
it's an
one
investment.
reason it looks larger is because the 31,000 insurance for the building got moved down, just like it did in all the other buildings, and so that does make the budget looks larger, but it's just going to be more accurate.
So does that include liability insurance too? The building insurance?
I'm sorry,
Does the building insurance for the Mary C include liability insurance?
Ms. McDowell, she's the one that handles the insurance. He's asking, this insurance for the Mary C, is that liability also?
Did you separate it out by buildings? I would think the liability would probably be all in one.
What I have in here in my notes is $30,883 for the building, $699 for the permanent collection. she's correct. If some of the liability needs to come down here, I did not put that down here. That would still be being paid out of the HR department, but we could move it. We just pay it all out of,
It's fine, you can leave it there, he was just asking to cover those.
yeah. Yeah, the only thing that's getting moved somewhat is what's going over to the enterprise fund.
So when's this plan gonna be ready, that we'll be able to look at income? And
It's gonna be ready very soon. We've been having a lot of conversations, but of course, since we're having people try to undermine everything we're doing, it's getting kind of difficult, so.
Like this month?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So the next thing we have is the arts culture. We moved down, this is where you see the art insurance here. These are, the 3,063 is all of the things that, it's not Jose, who donates all the art to us?
At both.
Papos, thank you. And that's to cover all of that. So, let me get where I'm at here, hang on, guys. The next budgets, I think, are basically gonna be public works. As of right now, we have a project manager budgeted in the public works department. They used to run with 3 kind of leaders, and we're kind of down to 2, and so they're needing some more assistance down there, and that's in this budget. There is a camera system in here. It's not real expensive, but I think their camera system there on the lot was just wore out. That's in this budget. The street department, nothing's different in there. We've been budgeting $30,000 to help with grass and landscaping every year. He struggles to get people to do it. We try to have 6, and I think this year he had 3. Yeah, so it's not a real popular job. In this budget, I did break out the grass cutting contract. It's $54,000, and that's like 28 cuttings, plus there is 5,000 in here to try to make sure we stay on top of the tree situation in the medians. Beyond that, that's about all the excitement there. Let me see here. All of the gas. We also had another change last year, which has been very successful. All of the gas for general fund in the street department is now just put in one spot. It's all in here, and the gas has done very, very well this year. The city now is pretty well all on just our own gas tanks. We do have gas cards, but we're only using them as a last resort or when we travel out of town. I still don't exactly have been a full year, but I can tell you that they're getting a lot better mileage, the vehicles are running better. That's been very successful. Let me see here. Next we have the shop. There is a new mechanic in the shop, the 2 with all the police cars, all the public works, and all the different vehicles the city had. We're going to try to add a mechanic, and then we're also going to hopefully take on the air conditioning work. But I told him we would give them till maybe March, and let's see how the 3rd mechanic's working out. Beyond that, the shop, the public works, the administrative team, they will be half enterprise, half general fund, because they manage it all, and the employees are about split the same. The shop will be 33% the enterprise, because I think the police department's at least 33% of that one, and so we didn't want to overdo that. Maintenance didn't have any changes, but the raises, which I'll talk about salaries in a minute. In drainage, he had 4, and we've added a laborer there. As you all know, the city has lots and lots of drainage issues, and so I think we really are just about to get back. I really believe that with these employees this year, Public Works will be back to where they were before we had a layoff several years ago. We're just kind of getting back to the level at what they used to run at. Let me see here. There's nothing else in there that's exciting. Landscaping, we added an employee already this year, and that employee is in here, and I also added in here some part-time help in the summer. I think that we don't have enough things getting watered, and we used to have a kid program those kids can just drive around and water the plants, and I think we're still needing that. So there's like 12 weeks at $8 an hour to try to fund that in the summer, so things don't die on us. That's about all that's in there. I did increase the landscaping to about $5,000 for materials, so there's $25,000 in there since he has more employees. Parks and Rec, their budget is one of the hardest ones really to know and to plan for, because we don't know with COVID. Because he already has pottery classes and he has some classes, but we don't know how everything's going to go. We don't know if the summer camp will continue. We don't know. So it's just budgeted like normal. And it's budgeted like normal on income. But if the income doesn't get brought in, then we shouldn't expense it out. It should be an offset. It's just set for normal. There's some improvements in here, but improvements in here, they can be in here sometimes. Sometimes we move them to 2%. When I get to 2%, I'll talk about as soon as we finish one of our projects, we might revisit and try to tie that up more, and we will be happy to let the board help decide what projects that would get done. We just need to exactly know where we're at with our 2% funds. I don't think there's anything else in here besides that's exciting, because it's just pretty well normal. Then we have the Tacony building. We also moved the building insurance there. That building rents out to 3 different agencies, and all we're really trying to do is make sure that we're collecting enough money to maintain the building. The way it's set up now, it'll help us to make sure we're doing that. And if you go back to the income, you'll see each person's name and what they pay. It'll help us have an easier accountability. The Ryan Youth Building, I've got some new ceiling lights in here, but they might end up being moved also. I think they're struggling with pickleball or something. I'm not sure which sports, but so this budget, with me bringing in I think it was $811,000, which is normal for us that we bring in cash between $700,000 and $900,000. With us bringing that in, I've got $100,000 to go into your municipal reserve, and that still would leave $2,300 left over. Anybody got any questions about general fund?
Good thing, thank you.
Yeah, good, thanks.
And so we'll move real quickly to the hotel tax. We did change websites this year, and that was a great thing, and the young ladies that worked on it, actually, we're going to save $2,500 a year plus have a better website. They saved us some money there. The food and beverage tax. Okay, so I can't remember if we're going to, I think we're actually going to make our $1.4 million this year. We've got one more to come. We did have a little bit lower ones in 2% in sales tax, but again, we had high years to offset it, but I went ahead this year and decreased this one too by $120,000. And so if we collect it, then that'll just be to the better. There is a new fire police training center in here. I've got $240,000. I don't think the chief thinks he'll take exactly that, but we're real excited about that. Then I actually also have in here, I don't know what it's going to take, but we will be addressing the lights at the beach. We are in the process of working on that. I went ahead and put in a yearly lease amount here, and it's just according to how we go.
In fact, there's three lights up right now. They finished today.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, pole 21, 52, and then I don't know where they put the solar one. Did they tell y'all? No. There's 3 of them: a solar, 110 watt, and then what's the other one, Bobby?
190, 110, and then a solar.
Okay.
So everybody get a chance, try to go by there in the dark and in the day, see what you think about the lights, and call and give us your opinion. We've got 3 up. Is that right, Ricky?
Yeah.
One's solar. One's
There's 110 watt that's close to the street. And
Right.
There's 190 watt that's a little bit further towards Sylvia Bosco's house, where it's off the street.
So we're trying different wattage on the lights to try to see where they're gonna go across the road, and we're trying to make sure we don't affect the homeowners. So everybody gets a chance to take a look at that.
21 and 52, Mike. 21 and 52.
Hey, Mike, there's one right up the road from you, like right almost in front of Skip's house.
Well, whatever happens, that will be in this budget, however that comes out. We will hopefully get that process in the next week. We hope to have that on the next agenda. I think we hope to have a decision on that. Also in here, this year, Highway 57, they're trying to get it finished. So until it's kind of finished, I'm not really sure what to do with this budget, but I do have in here to resurface 2 tennis courts. I think 4 could use it, but the new parks director is working with Carolyn Martin. They're hopefully going to be able to get a grant for 2 of them, or some portion of 2 of them. We hopefully will build some bathrooms out of Highway 57 this year. The dog park, the Friends of the Dog Park did not get a chance to make their purchases, so I just rebudgeted the money they could give us, and so they will still be able to spend the money that they raised to help get signs and stuff. Beyond that, there's the money being transferred in here to the festival fund to help offset cruising, Halloween. That's going to be the next budget. I've got $40,000 budgeted. Mr. Chip Cody will raise some funds. The county will help some. And so when you see that number, it doesn't really mean that the city will put all that out. We don't know how much Chip can raise this year with COVID. You know, we just have to be prepared. But usually, I think last year he raised $17,000 for cruising, and we spent about 26. So.
You said that it coming around pretty good,
Yeah.
considering.
Yeah, so I know as of right now, we intend to have cruising and Peter Anderson. I don't know about all of these that we're going to go to.
I've been meeting with Cruising the Coast, and there's a lot of, they're putting together a lot of measures to keep everybody safe, and it's going to be good. We're going to make sure.
I know we all love it.
Yeah.
You know, I love it. The next one is festivals. There is nothing in here on the parades at this point. We can't seem to get a lot of people involved in it, so I've not got anything budgeted for them. The comfort stations have moved down to the garbage account. I took them out of here now that we own some. They're just down in the normal budget. The library's budget is in here. Their budget's pretty well the normal. We send out of their millage, we send the bulk of it over to the library fund to help do this. We only keep some to help maintain the building. They do a real good job with that. It's a great library, great place for everyone here. The debt millage, we're doing real good with that. We're going to be able to probably, I think we'll probably, when we make the big bond payment in December, if the bulk of the money comes in the way it should in January, February, we're going to be able to pay off a couple of loans and then use the loan value to maybe purchase. We do need a few vehicles, and then we need some roofs. So we're going to be looking at that as soon as we're sure all the money's coming. We just got to make sure that everybody's property taxes are going to come in and that COVID's not going to make a big effect there. And so hopefully that will work. The fire fund, the chief makes the fire truck out of there. We're working on refinancing it. If we didn't get to, we would just double up, but hopefully I've got people working on that. That'll be not too far out. The police chief has always been gracious about using any of his seizure money to help buy police cars and all, and we're looking at, and we don't ever know. You can't really budget that because he doesn't know what we're going to bring in, but he's been really great about helping fund police cars and all, and help keep us going. Okay, so we have the enterprise fund, and we used to have all these separate departments, and then we found out, excuse me, that it really is all one fund. It's looking pretty good too. We did have a pretty high increase in sewer, but last year it went down. The way I understand that, It's a system where it goes through, and then the next year they go back and fix it, kind of like your house escrow. Thank you. We should get back $100,000 on some sewer work we did on 592. It's just looking good. The new thing in it, I'm sorry, is there will be a new department there, and it's going to be called administrative. That's where the 33% of the employees that work with them, all of that will go there. The building insurance that will go there. All of the expenses that truly should have been water and sewer all along will be found under the administrative costs. And then garbage and trash removal. I'm actually going to put all of the festival from Public Works, all the overtime, because it really is, very little is setting out the things. Most of it's picking up garbage. And we don't know who's going to work it, so it keeps throwing my budgets out of sync. And since it is mainly garbage, this year the new accounting is going to allow me to be able to put all of Public Works' festival overtime just in garbage. And so we did not budget for it in the other departments. Beyond that, it's basically the same. The sewer electrician, nothing new there. Just the basic same budget. Water at City Hall. You would see a few things if you looked at it real close, because what I found this year, I really searched each account number and I tried to find all the computer services, everything like that we paid for, because they were all over, where they're all being moved, where they're going to be easier to see, so the city will know exactly what we are paying for computer, for software and support. And so the budgets this year, by next year, hopefully that'll all be cleaned up. There's nothing unnormal in here. Every year there's money in here to replace MTUs, meters, because they continually go out. Same thing with water, Public Works. Their budget, they do have in their budget, we did not put really in any capital in any general fund right now, but down in water and sewer, their budget was healthy enough that they're going to get a $15,000, some kind of ground radar, which will stop them from digging at times. It's going to help them see, I don't know how far down in the ground, Alan probably knows.
Well, most of the time depends on the adjustment of it, but you get almost 10 feet in some areas, depending on the soil.
So we're trying to work smarter, not harder, trying to get them with some equipment to where we don't just go out and dig. And then they're also going to get another vehicle. We bought 5 vehicles last year. Public Works' fleet had gotten pretty down, but we bought 5 last year. Some of them in general fund. They're going to get another one in water. And in sewer, they're actually going to get the camera equipment to look at the lines that we've been having to hire, and that's an $80,000. I don't know what that'll save us. Alan might know, but I know that we weren't
Well,
capable
I
of
think
it.
the last time we had one line looked at cost us like $7,500 just for a short piece.
I think it's going to help the sewer department to know where we have problems without having to out-sub it. Beyond that, there's really nothing in there. There's no transfer to general fund since we moved it. Water is still looking healthy, even with those purchases. It's going to end the year with at least 1.6. That's kind of where it was last year, so it's holding its own. The last thing that I was going to talk about is the employees, the salaries, things like that. This year's salary budgets, which included 2% increase for the STEP thing for almost everybody. There's a little bit, you had to be here 6 months, but beyond that, it's pretty well in here. And then we were going to have a very high insurance. We were going to be about 10% increase on health insurance, but with different things that we put in place, it came in at 3.4%. So we're still affordable at this point. The entire salaries and benefits this year is over $11 million. So if you take last year's total, this year's total is $263,000 more than last year. But out of that 263,000, we have added 250,000 with the 4 employees. So we actually only have a $12,000 increase to this budget for the 2% raises and the insurance. Now, that doesn't make sense to everybody, but that is because we had some people that were higher paid leave, retire, and so it's a rolling number. And so this year, we're not really even going to fill the pay study, and yet, I know Mindy and I ran the numbers the other day, percentage-wise. Mindy, can you?
1.76% increase, the total is 115,000.
She's talking about the raises. So at 115,000, you guys only saw a $12,000 increase, and that included the insurance. So that's just the way the city runs, and we're going to watch it again next year and see, and hopefully maybe be able to increase the pay scale to 3% if it keeps managing its own. On our workers' comp, we got a nice surprise. I'm not reflecting that in these numbers, but they gave us a $40,820 credit due to COVID. So, and then we thought it looked a little high, so Mindy browbeat them, and they said, well, so they went ahead and took another $11,000 off. So we started at $204,000, but we're only going to pay $152,000. She called it the Gaston approach. I don't know what she's talking about, but right. So, but overall, I'm very pleased. I mean, we've added 4 positions. If those 4 positions wasn't in here, we would only saw a $12,000 increase from last year. And so I'm very pleased. I think that we're doing a great job, and everybody's been so easy to work with. They just tell me what they need. I try to make sure they get what they need. I ask them not to get anything they don't really have to have. It's been a good relationship.
I don't know if you wanted to address it, but one of the major items we discussed in the Finance Committee was the water towers too.
Yeah, we could talk about loans just for a second, because I do have, so we do need, at one time, I kind of thought that we needed 3, we have 3 water towers that need painting. For them to be shrouded with the cloth or whatever, they're going to be about $480,000 each. I have spoke to Gerald Grew, who does hold the water certificate, and he's supposed to be checking with the state. I thought we had 5 years, but he thinks that we need to move a little quicker. So I'm just waiting to hear back from the state. That will be one of the loans that we'll be talking about, and that will be paid out of the enterprise fund. That's not abnormal. It looks like we do this about every 10 or 12 years. That's just about their lifeline. So that's one loan that we'll probably be looking at. And then, like I said, I think we'll be looking at 2 loans. We've got a few, like the fire department needs a truck, and Parks needs a couple of little trucks, and there's just a few little things. I think we'll be looking at 2 loans in general fund this year, as soon as we see how the money's going to run. And one of them will be a mix of maybe 2 police cars, or if the chief prefers, we'll go ahead and replace the Hardys. We definitely will be doing the water towers. That one's going to be coming in as soon as Gerald gives me what the state said.
Maybe you're talking about doing all 3 at one time.
If that's what the state says, because he said we've been putting it off, and so if the state says 3, as far as I'm concerned, we just
Well,
do
you know,
them.
we've had the perfect water rating for too many years to sacrifice that
Right.
over some towers. But and you've done you and the whole clerk's office has done great. The department heads have done great maintaining the line on the budget. And one thing I wanted to stress for the two gentlemen that did show up, I'm excited about that fire safety training center that'll be located behind the fire department. Once that is put in place and certified by the state, that should reduce our fire rating from a 5 to a 4. That will have more of an impact for our commercial properties, but everybody will see a slight impact even on the residential side. So, not to mention the training that it will afford our fire and police departments. They'll be able to do live burns in that facility. They'll have the ability to rappel from the tower that's included with it. So I think it's really going to increase the effectiveness of our fire department and police department. Chief Dunston said they could use it for search training as well, so
I
I'm
know,
excited about
I
that.
know in the fire department, he already is trying to do driving classes here, so he's trying to do things where we don't have to send people to Jackson. We're gonna have savings also at just being able to train local. And I'm not so much sure in the police department how that's gonna work, but I know that's what the chief told me in this department. Does any department have anything that they say to the board?
Thank you.
I'd like to say something.
Yeah, thank you.
We've had a
Okay, yeah.
really good year in human resources this past year. Our turnover rate has dropped significantly.
Yeah, that's what I want you to talk about.
Yeah, we lost about 49 employees the previous year and 25 this year, so that's half of where we were.
The pay scale is working, you know what I'm saying? And actually, when we lost 49, some just had topped out, and so they got mad and left. So I think we'll continue to see that. We've got more people wanting to come to work for the city. It's just it's the most beautiful city on the coast.
And also, we need to mention our new show on the internet with our police department.
Oh, the new
Yeah,
commercial with the
advertising.
hottie.
That was a great job. Really good.
Yeah.
Kathy, I want to say thank you for the way you presented this. We browsed it. This is the best way to present it. I appreciate you breaking it out so it's clean and easy to see.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. That's at 34 years working for you, Mr. Ken and government.
You did
Yeah,
well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I tell you, and I know it's been difficult, but the implementation of that new accounting system has helped tremendously. This, like Ken said, this is a lot clearer than what we're used to seeing from that antiquated system.
Now, I'm very excited because I think the public will be able to understand it also. You know, I think that it has been hard, but we're about to whip it over. It's still got struggles in water because they've only been up 3 months, but we are getting there. And in the long run, it is a good move for the city.
I said it a couple of meetings ago, you know, we need to give credit to our citizens too, you know, with COVID out there, and a lot of things were shut down. Once they started reopening, you know, I think a lot of the public really bought into the buy local, you know, the sales taxes just jumped right back up to record territory. You know, they were down for a few months. Everybody was. It was across the board, whether it was Ocean Springs, Biloxi, Pascagoula. But local citizens here, man, once things started reopening, they were right back out there buying, shopping local, and sales taxes were right back up where they had been.
And you know, being in charge of the water department, I have to be truthful with you. I mean, we have like 7,900 customers. And really, you know, cutoff is normally 140 to 160. Really, if you think about it, that's a very small average. It really is. And so,
Yeah, and shout out to the chamber, they did a good job with the marketing campaign and really encouraging that, so yeah.
Yep. Anybody got any more questions? Because, you know, I can talk all night.
Well, we need to open the public hearing to.
Oh, that's right. Did we do that earlier?
No.
Right.
So is there a motion to go ahead and go into public hearing? Motion on Mr. Hoffman, second on Mr. Cox, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. If there's anyone who would like to speak about the budget, you can come to the podium now.
Here you go, Mike. Oh, sorry. I'll split down a little bit.
Thanks, Patty. Mike Alon. First, I want to start off by thanking Patty for taking time available, a little bit of time available ahead of the meeting last day or so, talking about the budget. I think she's done a really good job. I hope you guys are treating her nice. She's a real gem when it comes to this, based on former planning manager's opinion. But a couple of items as far as opportunities. First, you know, I know you probably have already had a discussion when you put a budget together in terms of what your strategic needs are for the city. For example, Mayor Shea, I know you talked about the time of the election or just after, you made some comments about some of the needed infrastructure repairs or maintenance. You know, in your opinion, I don't want to pretend to quote you, but generally some concern about things having been kicked down the road. And of course, when you look at a budget that year on year is the same, I'm not, you know, from a citizen standpoint, if there are pressing needs around infrastructure or maintenance that's not addressed, I know it's hard to address it in the budget that stays pretty flat. So one question from, you know, citizen standpoint will be, you know, how do we stand in terms of infrastructure? There's not a capital budget per se, or even big capital items in here, but the impression in looking at this is that there aren't any.
Yeah, we've identified, and we've also talked about a capital improvements plan. We've identified many big infrastructure projects, working with the county and getting some outside funds together as well. So, you know, whenever we came into office, we had to, you know, the budget was, there was very little funds to do any of this stuff. So now that we're actually getting the budget back to where it needs to be able to pay for our normal services that we have, you know, we had to, there was a lot of water meters out that was just, I don't know who was asleep at the wheel, but we were getting a lot of funds in that we should have been getting. And so now that we have a lot more funds to be able to pay for our normal services, now we can put more infrastructure in our crosshairs. But yes, we have identified many infrastructure projects, and again, we're working with the county and other outside agencies to get those funds.
Well, perhaps you'll create some transparency around that.
I'm sorry.
I think we have a lot of transparency, you know.
I don't
This
either.
budget is very transparent, so.
No, I'm not, Shay, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm trying to be constructive.
Okay.
I mean, if those infrastructure projects are things that need to be done, just, you know, where do you go to get the information about it to see it? I'm not trying to be critical, I'm trying to be constructive.
Patty, are those funds, I mean, the state put in place a program to send money back to the municipalities for infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I know we've received over $500,000 in that first one, haven't we?
So Ms. Martin's got some funds for water and sewer that had came from the state over the last.
Yeah, there are two bonds
There's
for water
two.
specific, water and sewer specifically, two bonds for a total of $900,000, plus we're earning interest. Those are going to be used primarily for matches. As we get state and federal funds, then we will have that available for match, which is a big burden and why we can't go for funds a lot of times. So those funds are in place and available for when as projects are identified, and we are continually going out for projects as they're identified. Like the mayor said, as we get the regular maintenance under control, we're now able to look at the bigger picture and set a schedule. But most of those funds will be hopefully from outside sources and show up not in the general budget, but in the grant, in the specific funds for those projects.
And that $900,000 she referred to is not reflected in this budget.
No, it's in a separate fund.
Right, it's
And that's
outside.
kind of my point. I think this is a very good operational budget, but
Right.
generally, as you know, as a taxpayer, you want to know what else is going on, what the needs are.
And also the county has just been astounding. The county has been so supportive of helping us with Stillman Road, with the monster ditch. They've just been really supportive of helping us. We also have what I'm gonna call the Amazon tax that's gonna be coming in from this year. It's like 172,000. It's gonna keep rolling and get bigger and bigger each year. As long as the city continues to spend everything it was spending in water, sewer, and streets, we will continue to get that, and by 3 or 4 years from now, it's gonna be up to 600,000. So there is some funds coming, and those big projects, those are usually through loans. If they're either grants or loans, they're not, there's like 300,000 in water for some smaller projects in there. I think there's 200,000 maybe in sewer. There is some in there, but not of the magnitude like what we need, you're right. And those are usually either grants, or they'll be bigger projects that'll be paid through debt. Okay.
Well, I think maybe the opportunity then is just try to find out where that information is available.
And Mike, we're trying to save that money so we can strategically match some big funds so we can get some major projects accomplished. We do have a list of infrastructure needs, and we've been slip lining, you know, drainage pipes, sewer pipes. We've got manholes that need to be rebuilt. So we do have a rather large list of needs throughout the city, and so we're trying to strategically save those funds to match and bring in more funds to get major projects done.
I'm sorry.
I think what you're asking, like, obviously, yes, this is an operating budget, and separate from that is the major, I'll use Ward 4 as an example. We're doing the monster ditch, which is a major drainage in the center of Ocean Springs. That's being paid for by the county, and that's several $1 million out, well, anyway, a large amount of money. We're fixing to do a sidewalk hopefully on East Beach, and that will be MDOT money. And so we're living off of, this is our operating budget, and we're living off separately grants, which is what we should be doing, so we don't have to raise the village. But
That's good.
I would say, to answer your question, Ms. Martin can probably give you a punch list of our grants as we're working on them and things of that nature. And we discuss them at every board meeting, but we probably don't give the public a punch list that goes in the paper of this is what's going on. We pat ourselves back and we're fantastic. We love the money and the projects we're doing, but maybe we're not promoting as much as we should.
Yeah, and you know, transparency is something that we've always prided ourselves on. Whenever I got into office, put that camera right there behind you because, you know, it's 2020 and what, 2017, and we need to be able to do that. So, you know, the budget is extremely transparent. Everything we do is extremely transparent. We do everything by the book. So, you know, I'm very proud, and I want to thank the staff for making sure that we, you know, do everything above board and that we get all the information out in time and that, you know, we are doing things ethically and responsibly, and transparency is a big part of that. So thank y'all.
Okay, so if I make just two more comments, Mayor, to be offered in sort of a constructive making opportunity standpoint. Emergency management, the numbers are very small, and I know you know that one of the city's greatest responsibilities is to be prepared to deal with any sort of, whether it's weather-related, pandemic, or other emergency that comes up. And I suppose that the city is regularly updating its emergency response plan, you know, how you respond to hurricanes or storms, and who your suppliers are. You know, just a visual impression, you know, just $2,000 to maintain your emergency response plan and readiness seems like a very narrow number. Maybe there's other exercises.
Well, yeah, so
Maybe
it
there's other
basically, well, it's basically, the fire chief is the EOC director, and each department has its own plan. And then as far as, you know, when we get a hurricane or whatever, those funds are paid for, like picking the trash up and all, that's all paid for out of our normal funds. Well, actually, I set the accounting up for the hurricanes. And then the city's money, it's all kept in one pool, and then it pays it. Like, I've still got some money coming in. I'm fixing to get about $80,000 from Nate, for some, you know, because it's 2 or 3 years. And so we don't charge it in our regular budget because it would drain them. So we actually set a budget up, but we are prepared for anything that comes. We just kick in and it comes in a different way. And if that happens and we needed to borrow money, then the state allows you can borrow money real quick, and it's out there for us. But the $2,000, that's really just for like chairs. That's just for the actual EOC room. It's not really to cover an event.
Yeah. So the point I was going to make is that there, you know, I don't know if you've thought about, or there may be some sort of private-public partnerships you can leverage in terms of annual or biannual peer review of your emergency readiness and response. Big corporations, big private enterprises do that. They bring people in to look at your plans, your peers or others to come and look at your plans and help you make sure that you're as ready as you need to be to respond.
Yeah.
To any event. It's done to be as good as you can be.
Yeah.
For the biggest challenges that, you know, we might face.
Everything's a possibility. I'm confident in Chief McCoy's abilities to be able to run that. You know, when you're talking about adding more funds to do something that Chief McCoy can really do very well, you know, it's just a discussion that we'll have to have.
We did, Mike, last year we went ahead and, because when we do debris, FEMA's gotten more electronic and they want almost logistics of where we pick everything up. So we actually do have a contract with a debris monitoring company. And that doesn't mean we wouldn't pick it up. It just means they would help put some stuff in the truck that would help us to get through the process. And so we do have a contract with them. When the storm was coming the other day, we had all of our gas tanks topped off. You know, that's one reason. I mean, it's been a good move to put a gas tank at the police department, but was also a strategic move so we would have more gas available to us, and then we'll, you know, hope Chevron's going to send us a truck over. We might call you. You know? Oh, all right. Well, we won't call you for that then. But we do. I mean, we did I don't know if you were here during Katrina. It did knock us on our feet, but I was here, I worked Katrina, and I thought we had some of the best response on the coast. You know, maybe I'm just a little prejudiced. Yeah.
Well, you know, I just know, you know, when I did run big organizations in the corporate world, one of the things I found very helpful was to have a peer review occasionally of my emergency preparedness and response capability. And it's just a constructive opportunity. So just a suggestion. Last comment, and in that same vein of public-private partnerships, we got a pretty big budget for police and firemen, which is good. In my past life, I sat on the business council of the city of New Orleans. I sat on the board for the Greater New Orleans Inc., which was a primary business development organization. One of the organizations that I thought was very effective in the city of New Orleans was the Police Foundation. That was a public and private funded organization. Coast Guard Foundation is a similar organization. Raised funds to support some of the training, scholarships for children and dependents of firemen and police. Having come back to the Gulf Coast now, I've been away for a long time. I was sort of surprised to find out that in Jackson County, I don't think we have a police foundation or a fireman's foundation. I think it's a missed opportunity for us in the city of Ocean Springs, perhaps for the Jackson County residents. The Department of Justice has had in the past a framework for setting up public funded through charity police foundations that can help with training opportunities, equipment, like I said, scholarships for dependents. We don't pay our firemen and policemen enough, and anything that we can do to leverage public-private partnerships to support our police and to support our firemen, I think would be well served. So just an idea for you to mull around. That was, as I went through the budget, when I saw those entries in there, I was just reminded of my past work with those organizations in the past. So, anyway, I'd be happy to talk to the chief of police sometimes if he wants to talk about some of my impressions of that, and in the future, maybe how we might get something like that started for the city of Ocean Springs or more broadly. With that, those are all my comments.
Thank you.
Did you want to speak, Mr. Gibson?
Good evening. I appreciate you, Patty, for this proposed budget, because last year when I came down to City Hall, everything was just lumped up into one budget, which really defeats the purpose. And I was looking at the Parks and Recreation budget out on Highway 57, and I know when we first started out with that facility out there, that facility would have been completed. But as I looked in here, we actually added another 200,000.
Well, what happened was we had 384,000 out there this year, but we didn't actually, we had done a little bit of work. What got done, Bobby? And right now we're looking at doing it just didn't get spent, is what happened. And so I'm moving some of it to next year.
We've been working with the county on the parking out there.
Okay.
When it was built, there was nowhere near enough parking.
Okay.
And we only have so much space, so we're utilizing the space that's available. And that's what we're putting in right now. The county has built the base and the road and the parking bed. And now we've got to go back and do the 88 spots and the sidewalks, and we had to move batting cages. I don't know if you've been out there lately, but it's going to be a great addition to the parking.
And we have to have bathrooms.
And it's just one of those things, the money is budgeted for that project. We weren't sure of the total, and we're working towards that.
Well, that's what's happened to Highway 57 a lot, which has been kind of misleading for aldermen. They think a lot of money got spent out there, but what happens is sometimes it gets budgeted, and then for whatever reasons, the projects don't get done, and so it gets budgeted again the next year, and it's misleading because it looks like double the money's going,
Right.
and it's not what's happening at all. As a matter of fact, I think we might get 2 more things done, but we need 8 bathrooms. I think that was the plan, was to put, I think it's 4 and 4, but just saying, I think it should be 5 and 3, because girls need more. And then I think they had already done the referee things, what was those boxes up there?
Score box.
Yeah,
Score
that's
box.
been done, and so I'm hopeful we're getting to the end of it so we can turn and do it. Well, you know what we did over at y'all's park, and Huffy's working on the bathrooms right now. And so, I don't know, I think that's gonna pretty well fix that for a little while, and so. But once we know for sure where the money is, you'll see me come back and we'll ask the board, we'll say, here's all the projects, what do we wanna do this year?
And
It's
looks
just
like
kinda
we're gonna
hard
come
to.
in- We're gonna come in well under that budget.
Yeah, yeah, it just didn't get spent this year, that's what it really gets down
Just
to.
got rolled over.
Okay, and my next question is, I know we had a lot of folks that just retired from the city. What is the plan moving forward to look at the employees that over the next 2 to 3 years that we know are getting ready to, you know, exit out the door? Do we have a plan in place to replace those employees and not have to wait to the 19th hour to get them in here to make sure that we have an individual in place? And thirdly, Public Works, you know, they don't get paid a whole lot, you know, and I love police and fire department too, but that department was left out too. And, you know, to keep them up with the other local cities and stuff like that. And I know we talked about the STEP program that you guys implemented last year and stuff like that. But the last thing we want to do is see them leave to go to another city to work.
Right, and I always tell everybody when they say who's the most important, well, jokingly I say the finance people, but the reality is it takes every department for this city to function. It takes everybody, it takes fire, it takes police, it takes the parks for you guys to enjoy them. It takes public works for the drainage and the water. It is a family, it's not just one department. And so we do try to make, oh, I think it's telling me I'm done. But no, I agree with you, we do need a plan, especially like myself. Oh, wait a minute. I can tell you in my department, my staff can tell you that I'm training, you know, because, you know, another couple of years, I might go, might be 5.
Right.
But I won't go until I have City Hall up and trained, so the next person coming in, and you're right, we need to make sure that the training is taking place, so we're prepared for the future. That's a really important point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we you know, we always looking at new trends, you know, looking at what the newer technology is, making sure we think about what skills are going to be necessary, what skills are going to be, you know, most important, what skills might not be as important, and making sure we plan for that.
Well, this year it's Public Works that's going to get some, and Alan can tell you, last year we got a boom truck, we got a new street sweeper, we got 5 trucks. We're working on putting Public Works back where it needs to be also. And this year, the equipment that, they're actually the only one that has any capital improvements in there. The other one's just been operating at this point, but there will be some purchases. We're just waiting till we can decide what we would put in the loans.
Okay. And then my next thing is, where are we at with our 5 and 10 year plan for this city? Is that available for citizens to look at?
Capital plan?
Capital improvement? Yeah, we're not, the capital improvement plan is not complete.
So the board asked that we try to start working on that more, and we don't, as you know, we try to run as slim as we can. Ms. Martin would be able to maybe tell you a little bit on that. She was kind of put in lead. Ms. Huffy was going to be a part of it. We just haven't really, I'm not going to tell you that we've been as diligent with it, because every day we have a new thing happening. The city has something happening at all points, but the board has asked that we try to look at routes, you know, how long does it take? A plan, yeah, you're correct.
We started gathering the information, and then we had 3 different department heads change, and so that, and then COVID and things. So we have a system, we just have to push back together, and every department has their list, whether it's in their heads or just, you know, in various places. So my job is just to try to bring it all together. And so that will allow the board to prioritize it. It will allow me to more effectively look for funds. It'll allow us to leverage funds and group projects. So we've been gathering the information. It's just one of the multitude of things that we've been trying to get done with, as Betty said, with our slim staff. But it is coming together. It's just not really in a package yet that's really digestible.
I like cleaning your closet, you know, you put that off until, you know, you do other stuff that has to be done.
And my next thing, this is gonna be my last question, the old city jail, it's just sitting down there. What's the plan with that? And if we're gonna do something with that building, then we need to make a move to do something with it. If not, you know, why are we continuing on paying insurance on something that we're not using?
Correct, that's one of the loans we'll probably be working on for the roof repairs. That's the first thing that's got to be done. The building has got to be secured with the roof and make sure it's safe for people to utilize it. There has been many ideas put out there, and they're all good ideas. It's just once we get that roof repaired, then we can actually bring them to the table and move forward with that.
So moving forward, that's gonna be a facility that the city will be using.
That's
Moving, that's the plan?
Yes, that's the game.
Yeah, I think what you'll see is, once this budget settles down and we can decide what projects we're gonna do, you'll see us come back and just talk about projects, and then once we make sure that we're gonna receive the money in debt to where, you know, because we have to make our payments, so we have to make sure all the money's gonna come next year. You're gonna see us then turn around and discuss loans and stuff. City Hall needs a roof, that one needs a roof. We have several things, and then we'll have to put in line what's the most important.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hoffman?
All right, seeing nobody else, is there a motion to come out of public hearing? Motion by Mr. Cox, second Mr. Hoffman, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, we just need a resolution to fixing tax levy for fiscal year 2021.
Do you have those? Have you got the figures or what we need to?
I thought it came in yours, yeah. Somebody's got a resolution. It's up there. Oh, you don't have, nobody has a paper copy? It's right there. Sorry.
You still have it?
I'm sorry.
I printed it for me, but I will.
It's behind you also.
Have it up there?
Yeah, like
Turn around.
it's back there.
Okay. Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and make the motion since Patty was kind enough to bring it up here. I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution fixing the levy of the municipal ad valorem taxes for the city of Ocean Springs and the Ocean Springs School District for fiscal year 2020-2021. For the city general fund, 21.05 mils, municipal bond and interest 4.77 mils, library 1.10 mils for a total of 26.92, and for the school maintenance 55 mils, school bond and interest, is that interest fee?
I'm not sure what,
Oh.
some of the buses, they're different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
1.32, school bond refinance A, 8.92, school 3 mil note, 1.77 mils, school collection fees, 0.14 mils for a total of 67, sorry, I don't have my readers here, 67.15 mils, combined total 94.07.
All right, motion by Mr. Anthony, second by Mr. Cox. Any further comments or discussion? All righty, all in favor?
Roll call.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries.
The budget will be adopted on September the 15th, but that stuff happens tonight. But the actual adoption won't be until we meet on the 15th.
Right. All right, and with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
No, remember we talked about.
Oh, yes.
The next meetings, just to make sure,
We
yeah.
discussed
Are y'all,
that.
I think we need to move back to City Hall, make it easier on the staff to get organized.
okay, we just wanted to make sure it clarified.
Let's do it. So make a motion to adjourn our next meeting in City Hall.
Okay.
All right, motion, Mr. Cox, second by Mr. Pena, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.